I interview people 40 and up on this channel, and the number one thing that they all say, no matter how they rephrase it, is I had to come to the point where I was willing to confront who I was and ask questions about how do I get to where I need to be or who I need to become. So let me say that so that it actually makes sense. Everyone was wrestling something with their current selves, and they knew there was something more that they wanted or to become. And they had to close that gap, and that gap starts off by having a real conversation with yourself. So with interviewing this amount of people, I'm going to just sum it up for you. 3 questions that you can ask yourself today that will help you realize if you are stuck or if you are just needing to put your foot on the gas. So the first question I'm going to say is, or ask is, if I do nothing, how will the 80-year-old version of myself look at me? If I do nothing, how would the 80-year-old version of myself look at me? Let's say you're 40, 45, 50, whatever age. The 80-year-old version of you is probably not necessarily slowing down, could be, but they've lived more life and they realize, should I have taken more risk? Should I have just gone ahead and moved forward with that, or should I have let something go? At that age, you don't want to be living with regret. My man Aaron, on one of the interviews, I'll put it in the show notes, he said regret can turn into sometimes the open door for addictions, for depression, sometimes just spiritual, mental suicide, various things. Regret can turn into that. So that's the first question. The second question I'm going to have you ask yourself is, what am I really afraid of losing if I make this next decision? Usually, I've heard people when they talk about moving, the number one thing they usually are fearful of losing is family and friends. And many of them don't even say that they're afraid of losing their job or income. They're concerned about it, but the fear is losing my family and my friends. And to go with that is, am I really losing them? Or am I just operating from a different state, a different country, or something like that? Someone who has moved before, I will tell you, you probably will lose some of them. It's inevitable. But the people you might gain on the journey to your new location might be even better for you in the next season. I've learned that sometimes letting go of people when nothing is wrong is sometimes the thing that helps you grow the most. Oftentimes, we trick ourselves into believing that we're staying because we want to make people around us feel comfortable. But at the end of the day, it's just really you're making yourself feel comfortable, and it's easier to just put that responsibility on somebody else. A lady in one of the interviews, and I'll put this in the show notes too, named Janet. This was something that hit home. She had lost her son, her husband, and her mother. She moved to move to Panama, and she had a job lined up, and then the job closed right when she got here. And she said, I'm not going back home a failure. I'm going to figure this thing out. I'm not going to go and crawl back to family members and things like that. I'm going to figure this out. So what are you afraid of losing? You want to write that down. I would honestly say when you write it down and then take a breather and then write some more. What are you really afraid of losing? I've seen, and it's happened to me, sometimes you're afraid of losing your identity. You're afraid of having to become who you really should be when you move, or when you move out of state, move out of the country. You're forced to become who you really should be. And sometimes our identity in a current state makes us play small. It makes us actually, I'm so sorry for the lighting. It makes us live under a rock. The final question I would say ask yourself is, What am I stopping myself from experiencing if I don't make this decision? What am I stopping myself from experiencing if I don't make this decision? Interview I had with a lady named Celeste. She's a great friend. She suffered a lot. Her husband had a diagnosis that was near death, and then she had one while taking care of him. So many things have happened, but she was aiming towards a project that the Lord had laid on her heart, but it required her to make some uncomfortable steps. It required her to use her faith. It required a lot out of her. And something in her clicked to say, if I don't go after this, what experience am I going to not get to experience? And she had some hard days. She had some moments where she doubted. She had some moments where she had to pray a little harder, believe a little harder, talk herself back into it. And now she's at a place where she's experiencing something so magnificent that she honestly gets to help people who are healing, who need respite. She gets to do that on her land. But if she would have just stayed comfortable in her house and thought, I cannot make this next step, I cannot make this move until everything is perfect, she probably will still be waiting on that perfect moment. The perfect moment's not going to happen. The perfect day is not going to come. All the confirmations might not come. So rather than avoiding and trying to get so sure, take those 3 questions and ask yourself, what do I need to do? What am I trying to avoid? And I found that in my life, when I stopped avoiding things and I faced them, sometimes it's not as hard as I thought it was. And a lot of times, a bigger door, a bigger blessing, breakthrough is usually on the other side. You know this, you've heard this, but I want you to sit with those 3 questions. And if you're bold, I put my email in the chat. If you're bold, not in the chat, but in the show notes. If you're bold, put it in the email. You can email me. Drew, these are the 3 questions. I'm answering them, and this is what I came up with. With that being said, I'm encouraging you because I know it's hard to change. It is. But change is going to be here whether we want it or not. Rather than always feeling that you got to figure it all out at once, just take the next small step. Small steps create safety, and small steps are usually the things that keep you going to get to those bigger milestones and those bigger steps. Let me know what you guys come up with, but I want to leave you with one question. What will happen if you listen to this video and you just ignore it? What will happen? I hope you would get irritated and annoyed to the point that you answer the questions and you start moving forward in life. Be good, guys. Be great.